Right, so greetings and you're welcome to today's video. We are going to look at descriptive statistics and look at how to be able to gain an insight into your data as quickly as possible. So the data you are seeing on the screen right now is like the monthly average rainfall for the year 2025 in Ghana, and then it's different regions. As you can see, we have Greater Accra, Western, and then Eastern region, Ashanti region, Northern, and Upper East region. So when you have data like this, the first thing you may want to have is to be able to get an insight as to what is the minimum, what is the maximum, what is the average rainfall in each particular region. You can also do that across each month, and then we are good to go. So we are going to be looking at the various statistics and how to be able to do that. For instance, the first one, and so what I'm going to do is I want to leave a line, this particular place, and then so I'm going to give that a highlight like this, and then I'm simply going to come below that and now provide all the statistics. So if I want a mean rainfall, the mean rainfall, and then that's for Greater Accra region, right? So what I can simply do is in Excel, we don't have an actual function for mean. So it's the same as average. So when you are typing average, and then you see that whatever that appears here, where my cursor is showing, it is called IntelliSense. So check within the IntelliSense. Excel has noticed that you want to type average. So it will automatically highlight the average for you. And if that's what you wanted to type, then go and press on your tab key on your keyboard to complete it. And then it will now ask you of the numbers you want to find the average. So you want to find the average from D3 all the way to D14. Learn how to be able to insert what the range is. They are very important. So we have D3 and then put a colon all the way to D14 like this. So it will highlight that particular range where you want to calculate your average. Now, when you are done, close the bracket up, and now you can tap on the enter key or your return key on your keyboard to get the average. And that is it. And because of the relative reference property of Excel, whatever I have entered here, if I come to the bottom right corner of the cell, you can see there is a small dot. That dot, when you point your cursor to it, it changes to a small plus sign. So you can drag it. So you can press your keyboard, you can press your left mouse key down and then drag it. Tell you that you are repeating the same process in that place and then in that order. So what it means is that whatever I did in this particular cell, if I press my, if I bring my cursor and it changes to this black small cross sign, and then I drag it to this cell, Excel is assuming that I'm using the same average function here, and I'm using this time around, I'm using all the figures in this column. If I move to this third place, Excel knows that I'm using the same average, and then I'm now this time around, I'm using this particular column. And so that's the relative property of Excel, and then that is it. So that's how we'll be able to find the mean average. But you notice that when we type the mean, we're actually going to see a whole lot of decimals and in that order. So let's come back to this point. And because of the decimals, we want to reduce the decimal numbers into maybe let's say one decimal place, so that our work doesn't become so. Come to the very first, putting a function within a function. So this particular function that we have is what is generating the figure that has the decimals. And we want to write one. So we have to bring in another function. So that function will have to wrap in the function that has given the what is it, those numbers with the decimals. So the round, we use the round function. So you start typing round from the beginning, and then in that You see that when you tap, when you use your tab key, tell you that the whole is what I have highlighted here is now a number, and that number has some kind of decimal. And so you want to reduce the end of it, you put comma here and say how many what a decimal do I want? I want only one decimal, please. And then when I'm done, then I need to close the round function as well and tap enter. And so in that case, you see that we are now going to have, I don't know what if I did, yeah, I did. And so you see that here there's no decimal because maybe the decimal number is what is zero. So that is why it doesn't, or is below maybe a person. Yeah, so that is it. So you notice that's why what is it? That's what we normally do to be able to round up what is it, a function. We can come here and say we also want the median rainfall. So our next statistic is median, the median rainfall pattern. Median is not a good statistic in this particular case, but it's just for educational purpose. So we use the median function, you see, and then use your tab key all the time to complete it. And so we are again moving from D3 all the way to D14, and it will highlight the range where we want to pick the median value from. And then we tap enter, and that is going to give us, because that's not going to give us any calculation. It's just going to rearrange the column or the range and pick the middle number, and that's all. And so we also do the same thing across. Now, when we come to minimum, the minimum, we can simply come here and say equal to the minimum. So we use the min function, and at the same time, we select our range again all the way to D14, close it up, and then it will pick the minimum rainfall for us. So we drag across, and then we have maximum. So the maximum, so we come here and say equal to maximum rainfall. So we have D3 all the way to D14, close it up and return. So we have our maximum rainfall, and then in that order. Then let's come to the range. What is the range? That is the difference between the highest rainfall and the lowest rainfall. So we've already got the highest here, we've got the lowest here. So what we can do here is to simply say equal to whatever we see here minus what we see on top here, and that's it. It will give us. We can also do that across the range. The range tells us the disparity. That is very much used in economics, where you want to look at the difference between the rich and the poor, or we want to look at the gap. So this is just the gap between the highest rainfall and then the what is it, the lowest rainfall pattern that we have noticed. So the gap is just is quite wide. Now, if we are so we can also calculate variance, the variance of the rainfall pattern. So when we come here, we use the var function, and but we are using the variance of a sample, not a population. So we pick the second one here, the second intelligent, click on that, and you use your tab key to complete it. Then again, we select the range, that's D3, all the way to D14, and then we close it up, and then we can have our variance. And as usual, you can see we have too many decimals, so we have to round it up. Come to the beginning, before just after the equal sign, and type round. Use your tab key to complete it, and then come to the last portion here and say we are rounding it up to one decimal place. Close it up and return, so that we can now drag it across, and then we can have all our variance. Now, the variance actually tells us the dispersion, or how the data is distributed, or is being what is it is away from the mean that we have already calculated on top here, and then that is it. So the mean, I think, yeah, and then in that order. So now let's look at standard deviation. So we have our standard deviation. Now we come here, we use the standard deviation function stdef. So we are looking at the standard deviation of a sample as well. So we have standard deviation of population, but choose the standard deviation of what is it, sample. So we use the tab key to complete it and choose your range, D3 all the way to D14. And I think that has been selected. So we can tap our return key and as usual, plenty, what is it? So I'm going to come here and round it up as usual. By now, you should follow the process. You know what we are doing. So we can have just that, and then we simply go through. And so this is our standard deviation. That is how far the values deviate from the central or from the mean, which means if I have a rainfall, average rainfall in Greater Accra for the year 2025, 2025 at 85 millimeters, it means the chance that some of the rain were below 85 was actually 50.4. And the chance that we have some rainfalls that were greater than 85, yes, we had, but it was greater than 85 by 50.4 millimeters. So those are the ways we actually interpret deviations. Deviation is just a plus or minus from the mean or from the central value, which is the mean usually. Now, there are other things we can calculate here. We can look at, we've already looked at the most important ones. And this is how we actually handle stuff like this when we are dealing with descriptive statistics. This is one way of doing that. So I'm going to pick all that I have calculated here. So highlight the whole thing and then come to any corner. You see that the cursor changes to arrows. Now press your left mouse key down and then drag it. Then I'm just going to put it to be hiding on top here. Then I'm now going to come back again and show you another technique. So now let me remove this highlight. So I'm going to highlight the whole thing, come here and say no fill. Then I have removed it. Now let's check. This was one way to be able to do that kind of calculations. Another way to be able to do that is to simply come to and then highlight the whole of this. And when you are done, if you don't see this small quick analysis here, press Ctrl Q on your keyboard. You see that this will appear. That is going to allow you to gain an insight into your data as fast as possible. And if you want to perform all the averages that I just did immediately, go and click on the totals tab like this. And so we can actually have summations, we can sum it, we can have averages, we can count them, we can look at subtotals, percentage to have an insight into our data. So that you are good to go. You can always select that. Now, let's say I want averages. I can simply just click on average and it will automatically calculate all the averages for me. If I want some, I can also do that. So let's say I want some. So I don't know why. Yeah, this place is not supposed to be percentage. I just want them. So highlight the whole thing, go to your home tab and come to and then make it general so that you don't see the percentage signs over there. So this is the total rainfall for the year, then in that order. If we didn't want it that way, we could have highlighted the whole thing, come to the quick analysis, go to your maybe you wanted averages. So you can calculate, we have averages. Yes, I know there are numbers there, so we replace it and then in that order. So those are the various ways you can simply do that. Now, there are also instances where you can simply just highlight, for instance, all the way and highlight the bottom line, the empty one, and then press alternate and equal sign. So it will automatically, I think I've pressed something else. So let me see what I can go back to. I don't know what I have pressed, but so what I was saying is highlight and then add a row just under. So when you do that, press your alternate key down and press equal sign. It will automatically sum everything for you. Again, when you are done with that, you can highlight the whole of this up to another column, empty column, so that you can also look at the data across, the totals across. So that way, press your alternate key down and equal sign. It will also give you the totals of the whole of January, the whole of February. This one is the whole regional totals. This is monthly totals, and in that order. So there are very short ways you can easily do some of these things, and that's what I want you to pay attention to. I think uh, another very important way to be able to gain an insight into your data like this is I have already done one here, but let me do it for you to see. Now, press your control key down and then come and then move this, come and then click on and then move it here. So we've created a copy of this data, which is now called sheet 7 copy 3. There's one here, there's one there. So the one that is here, another way to be able to gain an insight is by just click anywhere within, then Control T. It will change it into a table. You see, now it is a table. Whilst it is still a table, go to your ribbon. You will see where my cursor is pointing. You see totals. So come and click on, check on the total box, and then you are good to go. Now, this first column, what and what, there are reasons where you leave them for now. I will come back to them. But now, just click only the totals. When you do that, it will automatically give you a drop down arrow here. This drop down arrow allows you to be able to check for whatever average you want to do. So come here, you see that when you click on that, it will show you any average. If you want an average, you can simply click and it will calculate the average for you. If you come to this cell too, you see that drop down will also be there. Maybe for that particular column, you want standard deviation. So to calculate the standard deviation for the rainfall in the northern region. If you come to this place, you will also see it over there. And then maybe you want to calculate, you want to check the minimum rainfall pattern over there. And then it will simply tell you 21 in Greater Accra region. So that's what we also do to be able to gain an insight into our data. You can, if you want to choose a function, if that function is not there, click on more. So you can actually go, for instance, if you want to, but you should know that whatever you are looking for is applicable. Not all the functions here are applicable. Some of them are not applicable at all. But those that you think are applicable, you can simply check them out that you want. So that's basically another way of also gaining an insight into. Now, there is two more ways that we can also do. So now let's come back to this particular sheet where we were. Now, how do we get another insight? We can use something we call descriptive statistics to be able to get insight into that. So I'm going to delete this particular sheet for now because I want to still create another space. Or maybe let me even leave it, there's no problem. So I can come to this point again and then press my control key down and come and then move this sheet again. I wanted to shift this particular, okay, maybe I have to click this. I have to delete this one. And then, so, or I rather delete it a different one. Yeah, I think so. So let me see if the undo key is going to allow me. Oh, then that is bad. Well, but I can still also, copy the data that I have here. Yeah. Then go to a new sheet. And then I'm simply just going to paste them as values, and then that is it. I'll just increase whatever that I have here, and then push it a little bit. So I'll come to my home tab and delete some few rows so that it will go to one more side. I'll just come here and make it bold, and then this side also make it bold again, and that's it. So the other way to be able to get inside into your data is also by using the data tab. So if I come to the data tab here, I can simply go and click on data analysis and then go and look for descriptive statistics. So you will see descriptive statistics somewhere here. Click on that and click OK. Now, whatever that you find the descriptive statistics, delete everything as you see them like this. On your maybe on your in your place, you may not see things like the way they are here. So you may see everything empty like this. So when it is empty, you click on this arrow, input range. Then you click on this arrow. The arrow is going to ask for a data. Now highlight together with the headers all the way up to this point and click on the drop down arrow here. And then that's it. Now when you come, you notice that you highlighted with the rows, I mean with the headers. So here, the headers are the labels. It's asking us, are we going to add labels? Say yes. But before that, you can say group by. So here, we are going to consider the group based on columns. So we'll say group by columns, not group by rows. Here, we are going to look at regional comparison, not mentally comparison. If it is mentally, you choose rows. But in this case, we are looking at, and because we've already chosen Greater Accra, and then the Western region, all of that as the header, we cannot choose rows. Excel will not allow that because Excel has noticed that it is column grouping that we are going to work on. If we had chosen months here, if we had highlighted together with the month, Excel would have known that we are working on rows. We are grouping by rows. Yeah. So now when we are done with that, we come to output range. Do we want to see the output in this particular worksheet or we want to see it? If we want to see it in this worksheet, we can say output range and then tell Excel from where. So we can say we want the output to start from here, from this particular cell or this particular cell. And then that is it. Now, when we are done, if you want it to be in the new worksheet, we could have also said we want it to be in the new worksheet. And then we click on the new worksheet. And that, so now we want summary statistics, we want confidence interval at 95, and we want the largest and we want the lowest numbers to be added to our output. When we are done, we click OK and wait. And so when it is still highlighted like this, press your alternate key down and say HOI. So automatically it will increase, it will allow all the data to fit properly. And so now let's pick just one. So when we pick Greater Accra region, we can now look at the mean rainfall, which we had already calculated. The standard error is there, median rainfall, modal rainfall is there, standard deviation, sample variance, ketosis, skewness. And I've already explained all of this to those of you who are part of my class. And then the range, I've also explained that minimum, maximum, sum count, largest, smallest. The confidence interval at 95% was 32.00. So this is how we can get, and so we can now do a head-on comparison. So we can compare the mean in Greater Accra and that of Western region of the rainfall pattern in 2025, and we can see we have average rainfall of 84.99 millimeters as against 118.04 millimeters in Western region. And in terms of what is it, a standard deviation, in Greater Accra we're looking at 50.4, and then in Western region we're looking at 39.96. And we notice that we have a higher standard deviation as compared to this, which means the Western region data was much more representative or was closer to the mean than a Greater Accra region. So that's basically how we'll be able to do further analysis on this or have an insight into our data. Now, the very last one, method that we also use when we are handling data to be able to get an insight is by using what we call subtotals. Subtotals are very important. And I couldn't mention that yesterday. So let me delete this, or should I move to a new sheet so that okay? So I'm going to just press my control key down and then shift this particular one here. So we're going to have a copy. So when I come here, there's a copy. There's a copy. So if I can now maybe just highlight and delete everything. Come to this point and then delete and delete everything. So that now let's come. The next way to be able to gain an insight into our data like this is by using subtotals. Now, the subtotals allow us, instead of us to be able to use the main function name, we actually use an index number to refer to it. Now, let's look at something here. Again, I'm highlighting this portion and I'm giving it a highlight, a shade, and then we separate. Now, let's look at, we're looking at mean, right? I can come here, instead of saying we are looking at average function, simply going to say subtotal. And you see the subtotal function comes. Now, when it comes, check something. A whole array of actually use. But this time around, you'll be using index numbers. All right. So if I select one, it means I am going to calculate average. Then I'll now bring my comma, and then it will ask you where is the reference. Okay. And then I will simply highlight all the way up to this point. That's my reference. So I'll close it up and then tap enter. You see that it calculates the same, it gives me the same thing if I were going to do the mean. That's the same mean over there that we're having over here. It's the same 84 point, uh, 84 point something something. And if we round it up, we are still going to get the same thing. For instance, let me come here and format all the cells, or I can even, yeah, up to this point, I'm going to format all the cells and say that numbers, I want them numbers and I want them to be at one decimal place, positive numbers, and then in that order. So that's it. So you see that it's now 85, the same thing as we calculated earlier. So if I move a little closer, then it will also calculate the rest for me. So if I come here and I want the rainfall, median rainfall, when I come here, instead of using the function median, I can simply say equal to subtotal, and the subtotal will simply appear. Check through the suggested functions and see whether you find median. I think median should be somewhere there. But if I cannot get it quickly, if I'm not getting it quickly, then, or if median is not part of the subtotal product, then you can simply just type it. But let's say, okay, we have count. So the count is number 2. So I will just put 2 there, and then it will now ask me of the range of values, or the values that we want. So I can simply come here, then highlight the whole thing, close it up, and return. So it will say it's 12. But it's 12.0 because I have formatted the cells that everything should be in one decimal place. And so if I run across, it's going to do that. One more, and then, so let's say subtotal again, then use your tab key to continue. And let's say we want to find out the standard deviation of sample variance. So that will be 7. So put 7 over here, comma, and then look for your range. So this is the range that we have. Then you close it over there and then tap enter. Then it gives you the standard deviation just like we had before, and everything will be there. So another way to be able to gain an insight is by using subtotals. And subtotals, let me put something here for you to understand. Subtotals allows you to, instead of picking the function, you would rather pick an index number that represents the function. It works, and then after you have picked the index number that represents the function, you can now give the function argument in addition. So equal to um, subtotals here. This time I'm not selecting any range. So let's say an average. So average is, the index number for average is 1. So we select 1, comma, followed by, you now see that they are telling you reference 1, reference 2, reference 3, and in that order. The dot you see continuing is, you can go as much as you want. So for instance, let's say I have children, what is it, whose height or whose weight were somewhere around 5 kilogram. 6 kilogram, 7 kilogram, 8 kilogram, or 6 kilogram again, and then 3 kilogram. Now, when I'm done, what I'm simply saying is that I want to find out the average. Now, remember, the one you have seen first here is not a number, it's an index, meaning average, because subtotal understands that. So when we are done, we simply tap enter. I think something is missing. Yeah, we simply tap enter. Okay, maybe not trying to type a formula. Maybe I should have used a range. I should have typed the average or the numbers somewhere and then I will refer to it. I think that one would have been better. That's what the error is talking about. But you have an idea of it when you have to actually refer to it. For instance, like the error that just had just been thrown. So I was saying the weight is just let's say, so that's it. So if I come here, I can say a subtotal and then like this. Then we are going to find out the average. So I will simply select one. And then if I select one, I can now refer to this. All right. I can now refer to this, or I can now refer to all of them as a range like this. Then I'll close it up and tap enter. So it will give me the average. That's why the error was thrown in. So it is always good when you're using subtotals, maybe don't give direct figures. Refer to it. If you have cells, you can refer to them. So, but this is how we can gain an insight into our descriptive statistics. And then the very last one that we did was how to be able to find the 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 difference in mean. For instance, we have the mean here, we have the other mean here, but the difference here is significant. For you to be able to find out that, you need to conduct what we call a t-test. And for you to be able to conduct a t-test, you need to conduct what we call F statistics to check whether if the variants are the same or not. But why do you have to do that again? You could simply just calculate the variance from here. And if the variance, so let's say I have my variance here. So if I come to this point, now let me say I use the same subtotal again. And then let me check and see where I can have variance. Sample variance here is here. So sample variance is actually 10. So I will use my index number 10, and then I will simply now come and then highlight from here all the way to December. And then I'll close it up and then tap enter. So that's the sample variance for Greater Accra, sample variance for Western region. When you check, you see that the two figures are not the same. Once the two figures are not the same, we now know that our sample variance are not the same. So when we are using our t-test, we would say t-test assuming unequal variance. Now, to be able to do that quickly, we'll go to the data tab, come to data analysis, and then we come and look for t-test. T-test is here. T-test, we have paired sampled t-test. We also have t-test two sample assuming equal variance. When we have t-test two samples assuming unequal variance, that's the one that we want because we've calculated the variance and they're not the same. So we click on that. Whatever that was there, everything. Like I always say, you don't know what the labels and everything because you might not see that on your computer. And so it's important to always start from scratch. So it's going to ask us for the first input range because it's two sample to what the t-test. So the first range is going to be from here up to this point. Oh, okay, sorry, I selected a different place. The first input range, you can click here or you can use the arrow here. So when you click and the cursor is blinking, come and highlight all the way up to this point. And then the second input range is all the way from here up to that's the Western region. So the headers we've highlighted with headers, so labels have to be clicked. And then alpha is 0.05, meaning we are calculating at 95. We just want our output to appear in this same range. So we have to select the cell where the output will start appearing from. Any other thing is okay, so you click OK. And so now, as usual, alternate HOI, and then when we look at that, you can see that our what is it? Our t-test has been conducted, and let's look at the p-value. So the p-value one tail 0.04 is actually less than in terms of one tail. Then we can say that well the data is somehow the differences is somehow significant, and then that's it. So two tail is just a multiplication of one tail. So you just multiply it by two, and then you are able to get this. But so if we are going by the one tail, it means we are saying that the difference in average rainfall pattern between Greater Accra and then Western region was significant at the difference that we have seen. So that do the t-test. But if we wanted to know the differences in the average rainfall pattern across all the regions, that is more than two samples, then we should be looking at ANOVA. And I'll be doing ANOVA in subsequent videos alongside other the statistics. So I'll leave it here, and thank you if you have followed up to this point. Thank you, and then we see you again. Bye bye.